You've been misled. The common wisdom suggests that to be truly valuable, one must simply be kind, diligent, punctual, and dependable. Yet, Machiavelli would find humor in this notion, for the traits that garner affection do not equate to true worth. What if everything you've been taught about value is a lie? In fact, the qualities that elevate your value can ultimately render you untouchable. Within the realm of power dynamics, two distinct categories of individuals emerge. There are those who attract attention, and then there are those who wield control. The former are boisterous and clamorous, while the latter remain composed and quiet. The loud receive applause, whereas the silent instill fear. If your goal is genuine power, beyond the fleeting fame that lasts merely a day, you must strive to be indispensable. You should aspire to be so crucial that others find it impossible to function without you. This is the essence of Machiavelli's dependency trap. When constructed effectively, it not only grants you influence, but makes the idea of leaving you behind feel like an act of self-destruction. If you appreciated this deep investigative dive into the unknown, hit the like button. You want to stay ahead of the curve in science and history? Subscribe now and make sure you don't miss any critical updates. Never strive simply to be liked. Instead, focus on becoming irreplaceable. The contemporary world misguides you into competing in an incorrect arena. It encourages a pursuit of approval rather than the cultivation of leverage. Machiavelli recognized a truth that eludes the masses. It is preferable to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. The reason is straightforward. Love is capricious, while fear, or better yet, dependence, ensures compliance. So, what does it mean to be dangerously valuable? It signifies possessing something that others cannot easily replace. You deliver your contributions quietly, making it appear effortless until they attempt to replicate your success. Once they realize you are the source of their comfort and advantage, you cease to be an optional asset and become an essential component. This pivotal moment transforms everything. Suddenly, people stop testing your limits and begin to guard your presence out of sheer self-interest. There's no need for you to plead for loyalty. They offer it freely because, without you, they are left vulnerable. The art of creating dependence lies in subtlety. Dependency is ineffective if it's overt. No one wishes to acknowledge their reliance on another. Therefore, the trap must be discreet. Here's the strategy. Identify and resolve a problem they were unaware they had. Position yourself as the simplest solution to that issue, allowing the benefits to feel effortless until they are taken away. Imagine being so essential that your absence sends shockwaves through your world. For instance, you might step into a chaotic situation, and suddenly, everything falls into a smooth rhythm. You provide casual advice that addresses critical challenges. You introduce calm where there was once turmoil and clarity where confusion reigned. Initially, they may believe they achieved this transformation on their own. But once you withdraw, the chaos returns, and they come to understand that you were not merely helpful, you were foundational to their success. This encapsulates the trap. You do not exert control through fear. Rather, you maintain it through stability. The human psyche fears the loss of stability more than anything else. Offer just enough support, but never everything. Machiavelli did not advocate for endless giving. He advised strategic contributions that allow you to measure the flow of your value. Why? Because the more they receive, the less they appreciate it. As soon as they feel they have deciphered your worth, they begin to see you as less necessary. So, what's the solution? Provide impactful contributions in brief, powerful bursts. Leave a lingering sense of uncertainty that keeps their curiosity piqued. Address the most significant issues while allowing minor concerns to linger. You want them to feel they are on the brink of mastering your value, yet never fully grasp it. This creates tension and fosters a sense of addiction. They return, not because you beckon them, but because you have conditioned their minds to view you as the solution. This is the foundation of loyalty, built without promises and influence, maintained without demands. Withdraw strategically, allowing them to experience the void you leave behind. Here is where many falter. They offer value, gain appreciation, and then they cling desperately to their position, yearning to feel needed. Yet Machiavelli would advise pulling back, not out of malice, but as a calculated maneuver, for absence serves as proof of value. When you are perpetually available, your presence becomes an expectation. What if the secret to true power is not in being liked, but in being indispensable? However, when you momentarily step away, you compel others to reassess your worth. Allow a little panic to seep in. Let the cracks in their confidence show. Let them feel the weight of your silence. Because once they experience that emptiness, they will come to realize you were not merely a part of their framework. You were the very framework itself. When someone comprehends that they cannot operate effectively without you, that is when you transition from being merely respected to being fundamentally needed. Never make it easy for others to replace you. People do not value what they can easily duplicate. Thus, the final piece of Machiavelli's trap is this: become irreplaceable by design. You don't have to be the best at everything. You simply need to possess a rare skill, merge two common abilities into something unique, or be the only one who can deliver results quietly and without fuss. Even more potent is being the one who knows the hidden intricacies, the secrets, the systems, the flaws, and the shortcuts. You are the keystone. Remove you, and everything begins to crumble. Yet never vocalize this power. Never issue threats. Just continue to fulfill your role as if it's second nature. Smile, deliver, and then fade into the background, allowing the fear of your absence to work its magic. While many pursue visibility, the true Machiavellian seeks necessity. He doesn't merely want to be liked. He wants you to dread the consequences of his absence. Because in that dread lies something far deeper than influence. He possesses your comfort, your stability, and your future. That's when he becomes dangerously valuable. Not by his own declaration, but because others begin to whisper it the moment he exits the room. People often believe loyalty is earned through goodness, presence, kindness, and being there when no one else will. Yet Machiavelli grasped a darker, more profound truth. Men, by nature, can be ungrateful, capricious, deceitful, timid, and avaricious. If you construct your worth solely on the foundation of goodness, you're essentially paving the way for your own dismissal. The moment you cease to be useful or convenient, they will conveniently forget all that you've done, unless you ensnare them in a more profound connection, one they cannot easily escape. This is where the concepts of emotional debt and unspoken loyalty come into play. Forge emotional debt without uttering a word about it. Most individuals offer assistance and then seek acknowledgement. They yearn for gratitude and recognition. Machiavelli would deem this approach a squandered opportunity for leverage. Why is that? Because a favor that is openly acknowledged can be repaid, but an unvoiced one lingers in the mind, like a haunting echo. Here's the strategy. Aid them during their moments of vulnerability. But keep your silence. Don't remind them of your assistance. Don't bring it up again. Act as if it cost you nothing, even if it required great effort. This will lead them to ruminate over your support. They will replay the situation in their minds, questioning what you might desire in return, and gradually constructing a narrative in which they owe you everything. You never vocalized it. They fabricated it. That self-imposed guilt is far more potent than any promise made. This is the essence of emotional debt. It operates quietly, eats away at their resolve, and transforms even the strongest individuals into reluctant followers. Not out of fear of you, but because they can't rationalize betraying someone who has silently helped them. Utilize your absence as a reflective surface, allowing them to witness their own disintegration. Most individuals never truly assess their own value because they never step away. However, Machiavelli's trap is not constructed on the foundation of presence. It hinges on the repercussions of your disappearance. Here's the tactic to employ. After a victory, following a moment of support, or after you resolve an issue, simply vanish. Not indefinitely, just long enough for them to perceive the stark contrast. This compels them to revisit the turmoil that existed before your involvement. They will come to appreciate how your contributions had gone unnoticed until they ceased. It instills a fear, not of you, but of a life devoid of your influence. That's when your true worth becomes evident. That's when your silence resonates louder than any assertion you could make. And that's when people begin to defend you in your absence, realizing they cannot afford to lose you again. Master the dynamics of interaction, but allow them to believe it was their own idea. You don't just influence others by providing them with something. You guide them by dictating how they acquire it. This is where many leaders falter. They grant people power, and then seem surprised when those same individuals cease to heed their guidance. Machiavelli's solution? Establish a framework where you act as the gatekeeper, yet keep it subtle. For instance, always respond after a brief delay. Assist only after posing a question. Provide support, but with rules that shift ever so slightly. This conditions others to think in your rhythm. What is the single biggest question this video leaves you with? Let us know in the comments below. Let us know in the comments. They will strategize their actions based on your patterns. They will adapt to your perspective of reality. Over time, you become their internal compass. You didn't coerce them. You simply led them to conform. Maintain a state of mild insecurity within them. Excessive certainty breeds rebellion. Too much satisfaction encourages exploration beyond your influence. Machiavelli understood that to retain control over others, you must keep them just off balance enough. Not in a way that positions you as an adversary, but in a manner that frames you as their sole solution. Here's the principle to apply. Offer praise, then introduce a challenge. Provide encouragement, then withdraw your approval. Present opportunities but withhold complete endorsement. This perpetuates a sense of pursuit. It fuels their desire for your validation. It transforms them into seekers, perpetually trying to discern where they stand with you. And someone who seeks your validation is not someone you need to chase after. They will follow you to the ends of the earth just to feel complete. Control access to hope, and you will shape the future. This is Machiavelli's final psychological insight. Not through fear, not through greed, and not through dominance, but through hope. When you control someone's hope, you influence their entire perspective. Here's how this operates. Be the one who plants ambitious ideas in their minds, revealing glimpses of their potential. Speak to their aspirations in a manner that no one else does. Present them with a vision of what they could achieve, but don't fully open the door. Individuals become addicted to the notion of self-improvement. If they perceive you as the key to their transformation, they won't merely stay by your side. They will defend you against others. They will make sacrifices on your behalf. They will set aside their doubts solely to uphold the narrative you've woven for them. Because when someone ties their hope to your existence, they will sabotage their own interests before ever considering betraying you. You're not engaging in a game of grand gestures. You're not purchasing loyalty. You're not merely building an audience. You're crafting a trap woven from psychological gravity, emotional debt they cannot shake, systems they unconsciously adhere to, fear of distance, a pursuit of uncertainty, and hope they associate with you. That's the foundation of Machiavellian value. Not by providing more, but by offering what cannot be replaced, then stepping back just long enough for them to feel panic. They will never voice it aloud, but in their private thoughts, they will guard you as though you were essential. Not out of affection, nor because they admire you, but because they have been psychologically conditioned to depend on you. There's a reason why CEOs often retain their positions even after scandals. There's a reason billionaires weather reputational storms. There's a reason tyrants find protection from those they exploit. It's not charisma. It's not sheer force. It's not even respect. It's dependence. Once individuals are ensnared in a system that sustains them, even if it slowly poisons them, they will not rebel. They will rationalize their situation. They will serve. They will submit. This is the ultimate realization of Machiavelli's dependency trap. But what will happen when the balance shifts? What if the very system that sustains them begins to falter? Stay tuned to discover the intricate dynamics of power and influence that could change everything. Stay tuned to discover the intricate dynamics of power and influence that could change everything. It's not merely about being needed. It's about crafting an entire environment where your absence leads to disarray. Become the foundation, not the spotlight. In a world where many chase accolades and recognition, it's essential to recognize that the true game lies in control. Those who bask in the limelight often find themselves as the first to be blamed when things go awry. Instead of positioning yourself as the visible savior, strive to be the unseen backbone of the operation. In a corporate setting, don't just excel as the top performer. Create the mechanisms that everyone relies on. Be the only one privy to the reasons behind the processes, allowing others to bask in glory while you silently orchestrate everything. In social gatherings, become the one who forges connections and recalls every detail, acting as the emotional adhesive that binds the group. When you take a step back, their relationships begin to crack, revealing your role as the calming force amidst their chaos. Provide them with structure and direction, then allow the silence to echo your significance. When you transform into the framework rather than the focal point, your worth remains hidden until your absence makes it glaringly obvious. Disperse your influence just enough, then subtly withdraw. Here lies the trap that many fail to anticipate. You don't create dependence by doing everything for one individual. Rather, you weave yourself into multiple aspects of their lives, ensuring that your removal unravels various outcomes simultaneously. Consider the spider, not as a predator, but as a master of its web. In team settings, offer insights to several individuals who share a common need. In family dynamics, act as the sole bridge between conflicting members. In a workplace, design cross-departmental systems that only you comprehend, gradually allowing others to forget the source of their reliance. Let them assume the status quo is simply how things operate. Then, with one deft pull of a string, the entire structure collapses. This isn't sabotage, it's revelation. In that moment, they'll recognize that you weren't just a part of the system, you were the very essence of it. Suddenly, they'll be willing to pay any price to avoid that collapse ever happening again. Introduce elements of unpredictability that only you can manage. This is one of the more insidious Machiavellian strategies, employed by elite strategists, politicians, and even leaders of cults. Infuse complexity into a process just enough to instill doubt in others, causing them to lean on you for clarity. Gradually convince them that they lack the capacity to navigate it alone. This is the strategy of financial advisors ensnaring clients, tech specialists securing their jobs, and manipulators sowing seeds of doubt in relationships. It's not about deceit. It's about positioning yourself as the sole beacon in a fog of uncertainty. They begin to distrust their own instincts and seek your counsel first. As time passes, they forget how to act independently. That's when you truly succeed, for it's not a physical chain, but rather an internal voice echoing your guidance. It whispers, "Don't move until I say so." Align your value with their identity, rather than their tasks. Most individuals aim to be helpful within their roles, but roles are transient. Jobs come to an end, relationships shift, and teams disband. To attain lasting power, embed your significance in who they are, not what they do. Identify their core insecurities and provide solutions. Uncover what they yearn to believe about themselves, and reflect that back to them. Affirm their self-image with statements tied to your presence. For instance, to a partner, you might be the one who truly perceives reality. To a colleague, you may be the reason everyone listens, even if they feign indifference. To a friend, you embody a calm that instills safety in others. Now, here's the catch. Over time, they will associate that reinforcement of identity with you. If you were to leave, it would feel as though a part of them vanished too. This isn't emotional manipulation, it's psychological integration. You've woven yourself into their self-concept, and people will resist betraying that connection more fiercely than anything else. Make yourself integral to their survival strategy. This is the ultimate Machiavellian lock. Convince others that you are their only route to progress. Not through intimidation or coercion, but through tangible results. They've attempted to move forward without you, and it fell apart. You stepped in, and stability returned. Now, they can't envision a future without you. This dynamic can manifest in business, relationships, and influence alike. When someone links your presence to their advancement, you possess leverage they cannot easily discard. Once that bond is established, they will tolerate your silence, excuse your distance, and rationalize your boundaries. In their minds, you cease to be just a person. You transform into a pillar. And the removal of a pillar leads to collapse. This is how authentic Machiavellian power is forged. Not through coercion or fear, but through systemic importance. You embody the process, the rhythm, and the solution, embedded in too many facets to be replaced. They may complain, argue, or rebel, but when chaos ensues, they will remember who held everything together. They will return, not because you demanded it, but because you've made it so that they have no other choice. True power is subtle. It doesn't arise from aggressive confrontation. It thrives in the silence you command, the void you leave behind. Machiavelli never sought constant visibility. He desired perpetual presence. Once your influence permeates the systems, habits, and minds of others, your absence becomes inconsequential. Your impact endures beyond your physical presence. This is the pinnacle of the dependency trap. But what happens when you realize the full extent of your influence? How will you wield this power without losing yourself in the process? The next segment will unveil the answers to these pressing questions. The next segment will unveil the answers to these pressing questions. This is the moment when your reputation becomes untouchable and your influence remains etched in memory. The key is to exit while you're at the top, not when you've faded into the background. Herein lies the downfall of many powerful figures. They linger too long, giving too much of themselves until people start to take their presence for granted, ultimately becoming predictable. According to Machiavelli, the wise move is to depart while you're still on the rise. Why is this important? Because leaving at your zenith transforms you into a legend. People will debate your legacy. They will amplify your worth rather than diminish it. They will seek you out in others but find no one who can compare. By exiting early, you allow space for imagination to flourish. This enables them to reminisce about your finest moments. In the realm of power dynamics, curiosity holds more strength than certainty. When individuals fill in the gaps of your absence, they tend to inflate your significance beyond reality. Let others bask in the glory of achievements you orchestrated. This may seem counterintuitive. Many believe that giving credit to others diminishes their own visibility. But Machiavelli understood a deeper truth. A sage acts swiftly, while a fool acts only when it's too late. By granting others ownership of the successes you facilitated, you allow them to shine. This instills in them a sense of responsibility for sustaining the system. They will protect you behind the scenes. They'll shield you from criticism, justify your absence, and silence any dissenters, not out of loyalty, but because they must safeguard the version of themselves that succeeded, which inherently includes you. You become woven into their narrative. People will go to great lengths to defend their own legacy. Create a symbol that carries your essence forward. Your visibility isn't necessary for your influence to persist. What matters is a symbol that embodies your presence. This is a tactic employed by modern leaders, thinkers, and strategists. It could be a signature phrase, a unique philosophy, or a framework known only to you. A distinctive gesture, an inside joke, or a particular mode of thinking. When people invoke that symbol in your absence, they keep your spirit alive. And if that symbol signifies progress, clarity, or order, it will be passed along, with your words and ideas echoed. They become unwitting ambassadors of your influence. That is the moment of victory. When others defend your principles, recite your ideas, and invoke your name without you ever needing to prompt them. Always leave a door slightly ajar, but never issue an invitation. Vanish with an air of mystery, not finality. When you're too available, people tend to overlook you. When you're too distant, they forget your existence. The Machiavellian strategy is to linger just out of reach, leaving behind a half-open door to instill hope. They will wonder if you'll come back. Will you reach out again? Was your absence a test, a punishment, or a deliberate strategy? This uncertainty ensures you remain alive in their thoughts. They'll check your messages. They'll revisit your past words. They'll evaluate every new influence against you. And none will measure up. You've created a void. They will spend months, perhaps years, attempting to fill it. But nothing will suffice. You were crafted to be irreplaceable, defended in conversations you never attended, The pinnacle of power is not fear. It's the protection you cultivate in your absence. When people say, "Trust me," you don't know what they've done for us. Or, they may not show it, but without them, we'd be lost. That's legacy. That's unseen armor. That's social immunity. How do you cultivate this? Support others without seeking acknowledgement. Assist behind closed doors. Let them uncover your contributions independently. Individuals tend to defend those who don't seek praise because it makes them feel like they've unearthed a secret, and secrets are revered. Thus, while others crave the limelight, you gain silence followed by loyalty from those who remember the truth. Avoid being feared. Aim to be regretted. Fear drives people away. Respect commands admiration. But regret, that evokes obsession. The ultimate objective is clear. When they speak of you, they should say, "If only we had listened," or "We didn't realize what we had," or "Things have changed since they left." Regret serves as emotional glue. It preserves your image. It sows doubt about their replacements. It keeps their gaze fixed on you. That's what Machiavelli would have envisioned, not to be mourned, but to be quietly yearned for by the powerful. You don't need to be the loudest voice. You simply need to be the one they can never forget, even as they pretend otherwise. A final caution. Do not become addicted to being indispensable. Once you've established this trap and become dangerously valuable, the true test is not whether they can survive without you. It's whether you can walk away. For the moment you become reliant on being the cornerstone, you relinquish control. You transition from architect to captive. So remember, build your power subtly, embed yourself deeply, withdraw with intent, allow the system to function autonomously, and resist the allure of the spotlight. Because when they need you, but you no longer need them, you have finally achieved true influence. If you appreciated this deep investigative dive into the unknown, hit the like button. You want to stay ahead of the curve in science and history? Subscribe now and make sure you don't miss any critical updates. And in the next video, we'll discover Make Them Loyal Without Force or Fear, Machiavelli.